Hello Libra, and welcome to your monthly reading. So this is for Libra rising or Libra sun for the month of May 2023. So we are going to lay out your cards first and then we'll get into all of them in depth. Feeling that one there. Okay. Interesting because of the astrology that we've got going on for this one. And which deck? Let's see. Do I want to use? Yeah, feeling this one. I use this one for Geminis also. So, all right. We're going to take a look at how your month is progressing. I am feeling that top card though. Not all of those, but the top card. Huh. Okay. Interesting beginning of the month, middle of the month, okay. And then we'll take a look at the, did you guys see that shoot out to the side? The end of the month. We're also going to have a look at the challenges that are coming through, or a challenge that's coming through for this particular month, and what spiritual advice is coming through. Feeling that top card once again. And what spiritual advice is coming through for this, for my Libras, Libra sun, Libra rising. These cards, if you guys have ever seen me shuffle with them, they are extremely long for my hands. So, and I have pretty long fingers, but this is the issue. So I have to sometimes shuffle them quite a bit until I feel the card that is the one to come out. For spiritual advice. So I am going to talk a little bit about some notable astrology for the month. Not too long. I'm not going to talk about all of the astrology that's going on that's notable for this month, but I do want to mention a couple of things because I like to give you guys a heads up and I feel like it's pretty important. So this is what we've got going on for your month. This is the challenge and this is the advice. We use this card to kind of bring some kind of focus to these because this is a collective reading and obviously it's not going to land every single month for every single Libra rising or sun sign that's out there. So keep that in mind. You know, obviously the best way to get a really, really specific reading for yourself is to book a reading one-to-one, whether that's me or someone else. But if you book a reading with me, I have 30, 60, and 90-minute readings, and the information for that is down below. So let's get into really quickly the astrology, and then we can focus the rest of this, and it'll make, I think, a lot more sense too. So on May 1st, on the very first part of this month, we are starting out with Pluto going retrograde. So that we talked a lot, I talked in previous videos too, about how the transition of Pluto moving into Aquarius is a really big deal because of how long it takes to move through a sign. So it does this dance when it moves into a new sign where it goes retrograde back into the sign that it was, usually a couple times before it moves solidly into that sign. So here we have it moving back into Capricorn. So think of the like what you've been dealing with for the last 15 years with the themes that have to do with Pluto and Capricorn. And I'm not going to go into that deeply here because this isn't an astrology video, but you'll want to look at where Capricorn is in your chart to give you some idea of like which area of life this is occurring in. So that's like a time to wrap up over the next few months until, you know, when it goes directly back into Aquarius and stays there will be in 2024. So just wanted to give you a heads up about that you may feel, but because it's such an outer like celestial body, you may see this more on a collective level, like on the world stage, like kind of playing out, right? So just something to say about that. The really big one that I want to pay attention to is on May 5th. So on May 5th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Scorpio. And this one in particular, I wanted to give you guys a heads up because it could be a little bit emotional for several reasons. It can definitely be about what's being released. Remember, I talked about in my last video that was about the solar eclipse. I was talking about how the energy gets brought in during eclipse seasons and it also gets ushered out. And so this is happening on the south node. It's a south node eclipse. And the South Node has to do with that releasing, with letting go, just like, yeah, so with moving through that. So that's one aspect of this. And then it's a full moon, and as we know, that's a time where emotions can be at their peak, right? It just like amplifies emotions for people, for sure. So we have that, but then we also have the moon in Scorpio, and the moon has a really difficult time when it's in Scorpio. Now, it is in Scorpio in sidereal, so I am talking about this from the sidereal, or I'm sorry, from the tropical perspective. So in sidereal, the moon is going to be in Libra, but the moon in Scorpio basically is just, it has a difficult time. It's not where the moon feels the most happy. And also, more than that, it's like Scorpio being a fixed water sign, so water, emotions, right? But also fixed, meaning that like that can be a place where, you know, even though it's a place of depth and transformation, it can be a little bit stubborn. There can be some stubbornness and some like holding on in that space. So that's why I say like this can be maybe a bit of an emotional letting go of things, or you could be in a position where you are feeling like you've learned the lessons you needed to learn from this connection or this project or this whatever it is, and you're just like, I've got the lessons, I learned what I needed to, I'm good, it's time to release this, like I'm cutting this off, I'm closing the chapter on this, and I'm like letting it go, right? So you could be in one of those positions. You know, I'm not talking too much about the sidereal, but I will mention that it is in Libra in sidereal. Libra is one of the places where we deal with that relating on a harmonious level, right? We're dealing with often we're dealing with relationships, you know, Libra does rule the 7th house. And so there can be some of those themes coming up. So again, it's not exactly the same as the Scorpio, but I would say that it might, if you follow sidereal, might be pointing more towards things that have to do with relationships and relating. Either way, to see where this is going to be affecting you in your particular area, you'll want to look at your birth chart and you'll want to see where Scorpio is and the house that's affecting, so that you have an idea of like where you can expect this to kind of bubble up. You know, what themes are going to be occurring. Or if you follow sidereal, look at Libra, right? All right, so now we have that out of the way. Oh, and one last thing. Mercury is going to be coming direct on May 14th. So it's stationing direct for out of retrograde. And, you know, even though it's going to be direct, like it still takes some time, like another week or two, like for the momentum to start to really build up. Like you might have like these remnants left over from whatever you were dealing with during this Mercury retrograde. So just know that even though it's direct, it'll still take a little bit of time for things to kind of like start to get going again with respect to that. So just something to know. So as we go through the month, just keep those dates in mind. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening towards the end of the month going into June, but honestly, it's too much to talk about here. I need to probably start doing astrology videos or something. So, all right, let's take a look. So we are using this deck as we have been using to kind of, you know, because it's a collective reading, we can get a sense of like how else we can just bring these elements together and like what themes of life we can point to, how we can focus the reading. Sometimes we get a house card, which is lovely because it's more direct, but right here we have the South Node. Very interesting, right? Because we are talking about in this month, in the middle of the month, we have in the beginning of the month, we have the May 5th lunar eclipse, right? And it's on the South Node. So I think in particular for you, Libra, there is this theme where I think you're really probably going to be feeling this, the energy of the South Node, which is that, like I said, release and letting go. It's the closing of a chapter. So, you know, and you can be really proactive about it, but sometimes it can be surprising about the ways in which, you know, the ways in which we have these things that are taken out of our life sometimes. Sometimes it can feel abrupt or sudden because it's an unexpected area of our life that we weren't really ready to let go of. But if you know that some things are really on the verge there, this might be a time to be proactive and to kind of look at like, okay, maybe I need to do some acceptance around this or some releasing around this, or, you know, come to a place of acceptance that this might be a chapter that's ending. Maybe that's a project or, you know, work or a friendship or a relationship relationship or whatever it is, right? So I don't like to scare people because I think there's just too much of like people will take one thing and then go, oh my God, it's all ending, I have to be scared. And it's like, yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens in ways that are uncomfortable and not ideal, but also sometimes it's not so extreme. So, but I do think it's definitely being pointed out for you, like that the energy of this particular eclipse is going to be something that you will notice, right? So let's take a look at the beginning of the month. In the beginning of the month, we have the Lovers card, right? So, you know, and the Lovers card, well, let's first, let me just mention what we have here so that you know the progression. So we have the Lovers card in the beginning of the month. We have the middle of the month with 7 of coins, and then the end of the month rounding out with the 5 of cups, right? And the challenge being the 3 of coins and the spiritual advice being the King of Cups. So, you know, got some cups energy, got some like earth energy as well. I think that this could certainly relate to either, well, three areas. I think it has to do with relating, interestingly enough, because of Libra, and you're a Libra. So, you know, this could have to do with maybe a romantic connection of some kind, maybe an ex, maybe someone who's like around now. It could have to do with friendship or like your community of friends. It could also have to do with a business partnership of some kind, you know, maybe not a community of friends. I would say this is more probably like indicating a particular connection. But with the Lovers card, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's about love and romance and it's about a relationship of that kind. However, it is a connection where it's like the two of you are like, your strengths both feed each other in ways that help you kind of like elevate you both. Like you kind of up level each other and like more than yourselves as like separate entities, right? So like the two of you coming together, working together when you do work together seems to be something that is transformative. It helps both of you to grow and to maybe even be working towards something that's greater than who you are individually, right? So that's something to just consider. You know, the Lovers card, if it has to do with a connection, is speaking to a connection that creates transmutation, transformation, like transcendence in some way. And it also is talking about a mature connection, a mature relationship, right? The Lovers card has to do more with mature relating, right? So just keep that in mind with the beginning part of the month. And then we come into the middle of the month and we have the 7 of coins, right? And so I think that there's just like some patience that you're going to maybe need around this time. Perhaps you're wanting things to go a little bit faster than they're going because of Mercury, you know, slowing things down until the 14th. And again, like even when it comes direct, it's still going to be going a little bit more slowly than we would want it to. It starts to pick up speed, but not just like right away. So maybe you're wanting things to move a little bit faster than they are. You've clearly been putting in, you know, time and like work and trying to do like the solid grounded work of like creating something, whatever it is you're trying to create, whether that's creating a connection or creating a project or creating work for yourself or something around finances, right? Like whatever it is that you're working towards materializing, you've been putting in the time and work, you know, you've been tending to the garden. However, it's going to take a little bit more time and you might feel a little bit of impatience around that. So just like know that it's going to start to pick up. It will, it's fine. It's just that's just what's going on astrologically. So that, I hope that makes sense. And then we come into the end of the month and I think that there are some things here with regard to the 5 of Cups where I call this the crying over spilled milk card. So, you know, you might be kicking yourself about things that didn't go really according to plan or well. Maybe you didn't like do as well as you had hoped to with regard to like a project, or you noticed like some mistakes that you made or some regrets that you have about how you communicated specifically, especially through this particular retrograde and eclipse season that ended and, you know, everything, right? So, you know, this could be feeling the weight of that and just maybe being a little bit overly focused on those things. And what there is to remember in this particular part of the month is like, hey, you know, spilled milk is spilled milk. There's nothing you can do about this. You need to focus on the cups that are actually full, not the ones that have fallen over. And you need to put your attention on like what is working, what is going well, what lessons you can glean from it, as opposed to beating yourself up over these things. So don't be so hard on yourself, Libra, if there are things that you're just like, that didn't go the way I wanted it to, it's my fault, or I could have done this better, or whatever it is. It's like, take that, learn from it, and then just take a look at how you can apply it to, yourself and whatever you're dealing with going forward. And also, there's just focusing on what is working is going to be probably the most beneficial thing for you moving forward. And it's interesting because your challenge card is the 3 of Coins, right? And the 3 of Coins is definitely about like working together in groups or community. Perhaps this has to do with work. Maybe you were working on a project of some kind, or you were hoping to join a group or community or something like that, or you're working together with somebody specific towards a goal, right? Towards something. And so this is really, I sometimes think of this card as like working together and also cooperation. Maybe also for some of you, the other thing that I would say that comes to mind is like too many cooks in the kitchen. So if one or the other I could see applying. Obviously it's a collective reading, and I like to mention the ones that really stand out to me about the cards in particular when I'm doing readings for collective, but the specific readings are only going to happen really one-to-one. So I would say, yeah, this could be about too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many people like throwing in their ideas and like trying to, like direct a project or a certain situation, right? And also this can be about it feeling challenging to like really work with others, and that maybe you're feeling like something is off, and maybe you're not working well with others. Maybe it's not harmonious, especially to a Libra Sun, Libra rising. I'm sure that would feel like sandpaper on your skin, wouldn't really feel the greatest. And we have, for your spiritual advice, we have the King of Cups, right? And so, the thing about the kings, all of the kings in the deck, is that they have to do with leadership and responsibility, right? Like they are the leaders of the kingdom. They are responsible for an entire kingdom. And one of the things about the King of Cups in particular that really stands out for me is, he wouldn't really be a good leader if he were like tossed this way and that way, like by the whims of his emotions. And that would make for a pretty chaotic style of ruling and wouldn't really be conducive to building something solid like a kingdom, right? And so here we see with the King of Cups that he's able to feel the breadth of his emotions without letting them rule him or control him, right? So he's able to feel them. He doesn't block them out, but he can feel them and not let them rule him. Instead, he lets his emotions and his intuition inform him moving forward, and also like building towards, I believe, things that really truly feel good on a very real level. I think, and why I say that is because I think sometimes we go about building things that we think are really going to, that we're just kind of going at it blindly thinking it'll make us feel good, but like, is it really, so doing that double check, but more so about, allowing the emotions and the intuition that you have to inform you, but not allowing those things to like rule you and toss you this way and that and create chaotic environments, because it would be counterproductive to what it is that you want to create going forward. So I would say if you want like the bigger, like maybe picture, especially because this includes talking about the eclipse at the beginning of the month, you might want to go back and look at the solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse videos that I did recently. So I'll probably throw that up on the screen here. And I'm also going to be putting out for May 5th specifically for the full moon lunar eclipse to the new moon. So that period of time, that'll drop on the 5th or maybe the day before, we'll see, but it'll drop around that time beforehand so that you can kind of get a peek at what's happening. So make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss those videos. And also, if you feel so inclined, if this was helpful at all, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. It does help my channel as I'm building this. Either way, I hope this is helpful and I really appreciate your time and being here. Thanks. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.